Hello, and thank you for watching The Righteous Kitchen, a cooking and baking blog found at www.therighteouskitchen.blogspot.com. I'm going to walk you through how to make ganache. And in this bowl, I have 8 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate, and I have 1 cup of heavy whipping cream that I just microwaved till it got nice and warm. And I'm just going to pour that over the chocolate and let it set for a few minutes, and then it'll start to melt those chips. Now I am using chocolate chips for this recipe because it went along with the cake that I'm making. I didn't want to use a very expensive chocolate because other ingredients were just candy bars that it was pairing up with. So I'm using chocolate chips for this recipe, but you can use, a higher quality of chocolate chips. These are from See's Candy. You could use your favorite chocolate bar. This is a milk chocolate, and instead of doing a 1-to-1 ratio like the semi-sweet, it's 8 ounces of chocolate to 8 ounces of heavy cream. This here, I would kick that cream down a little bit because this has a higher milk in the chocolate, a milk ratio in the chocolate already. So I would probably do a 6 ounces for a milk chocolate. But this is a candy bar that I really like, the Cadbury. I also like to chop chocolates. If I make a chocolate mousse cake or something like that, where the chocolate is the star ingredient, then I'll use a nicer chocolate. I do like this Trader Joe's Pound Plus. It comes in dark chocolate. So dark chocolate's going to be a same ratio, 8 ounces to 8 ounces of cream. The milk chocolate's going to be 8 ounces of chocolate to 6 ounces of cream. Now we just chop this into nice small slivers and then melt it with the cream. So back to this bowl here. This has just been sitting for a couple of minutes, and we're just going to whisk it till it's completely smooth. You want all the chocolate melted and it to come together with the cream. And it's completely smooth. So that's it. It's nice and smooth. And then I'll take my spatula and just make sure that the sides are all incorporated. But that's all there is to it. A really nice ganache. And you'll use this according to the temperature. So right now this would be a nice sauce for ice cream. It'd be a nice sauce for bread pudding, something like that. And it will also be a nice drip. I am making a small batch of Reese's peanut butter ganache. I'm using the Reese's peanut butter chips. I have 4 ounces of chips in a bowl and 1/4 of a cup of hot whipping cream. I just microwaved that for about 25 seconds in my microwave. I'm going to let that sit there for a second. So the standard ratio would be like let's see, if I did 4 ounces, it'd be half of a cup. So I've reduced the whipping cream to half the standard amount. And I just wanted to see what we come up with. And it looks like, I mean, this cream could have been a little bit warmer. And it's okay. I'm just gonna pop this all back in there for about 15 seconds. That cream has to be hot enough for your chips to melt. And here we go. Just want to make sure you get it all blended. And that looks like a good consistency. If I would have put the 1-to-1 ratio, I think it would have been too much cream. So this here, you just use half of the amount that you would normally use. And this, you're gonna use this just the same way that you would use the chocolate ganache. You could use it as a drip, you could pipe it, you could whip it up and use it as a frosting, but you just want to use half as much cream as you would for a chocolate ganache. And I am going to use this on a cheesecake as part of my peanut butter cheesecake. This is going to be one of the toppings. It's going to give a nice peanut butter flavor. And I'm going to let it cool to room temperature, and it's going to be a little bit thick. And then when I put candies on top of it, it's going to help just to keep everything in place. So as this cools down, it's going to get thicker, just like the chocolate ganache. So you could do this with the white chocolate. I would do the same. If I was using 4 ounces of white chocolate, I would only use half as much cream. I'd only use 2 ounces of the cream. All right, so I hope that's helped you. So I'm going to demonstrate how to do a drip really quick. I have a cheesecake that I'm working on, and I'm going to bring that out right now. So I have this cheesecake that's been in the refrigerator overnight, and I've trimmed the sides and everything, and it's all ready for decorating right now. And part of my decoration is to have a ganache, chocolate ganache drip border. So what I'm going to do while that ganache is nice and warm, I'm going to go ahead and do the border. Now this would be like a single layer cake. Same principle. I'm just going to control the drip with my spoon. So I'm just going to lay it right on the edge. And then I don't really want a huge drip. But when I want it to fall, I just kind of push it over the edge a little bit and then let it drip down. And if it needs a little help, just give it a little tap. You control it. If you want it to drip more there, just tap it and it'll start flowing for you. I don't want, a terribly long drip. I like the consistency of this because it is just like a single layer cake. This is also going to have another layer of ganache. In the center, I am going to put a peanut butter ganache. You could also do a white chocolate ganache. You just want to take your time and make your way around the border. If there's any air bubbles, just, you know, smooth them out with your spoon. This is a fun, popular border, but I was doing some research on cakes, and I think this border drip technique, I found it way back in the 40s that they were doing this. So that was a fun discovery. Everything comes back around in style and fads that you think are popular. They've probably been around before. All right, I'm almost done with this. And I'm gonna be decorating a lot on this cake, but even if I decided to stop right here, I'd still have a really nice looking cheesecake. So I'm pretty happy with this. Okay, so this is exactly the look that I was going for. I didn't want a super long drip because we're only dealing with one layer here. And it's nice and thick, so I like that. What I'm going to do is put this back in the refrigerator and let it harden up, and then I'm gonna put a peanut butter ganache in the middle. But continuing on, this is one way to use the ganache, like I said, as a drip. But you can also chill this and whip it as you would a chocolate buttercream frosting. That is also what I would like to do for this recipe. So what I'm going to do to get it to chill a little bit faster for me is I'm going to go ahead and put it in the mixing bowl, because that has a larger area for this to get in here and cool down. I'm going to hold back some of this for a glaze. And I may need to reheat that, because as it sits, it's going to get thicker. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in a microwavable bowl so that when I'm ready for it to be a glaze, I can heat it back up to the consistency that I need. So we have a drip, we have a glaze, and then we're going to have a whipped ganache frosting. And that's just 3 of the ways that you can use this. I do have a video also for a chocolate trifle, and in the middle of that trifle is a chocolate mousse. So after the whipping stage, when this is nice and cold and I whip it, I can also whip whipping cream, have a nice fluffy whipped cream, and then fold the 2 components together, the whipped cream and then the whipped ganache. So that would also make a mousse. So that's 4 different options that I've given you how to use ganache. Okay, here is that ganache that I've had in the refrigerator chilling, and you can see it's already gotten nice and thick. What I want to do is I'm going to scrape it down just so that the beater will be able to get in there and whip it. So I've got it all in here. I'm going to use the wire whisk on my KitchenAid. And I'm just gonna beat this on high till it's nice and fluffy. And you can see a little of the difference here. And what went from a fudge-like consistency to a mousse kind of a consistency. What I'm gonna do here is just scrape it down one more time and then put it, whip it a little bit more. So here it is. We have a really thick, pipeable chocolate whipped ganache. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this and show you how to use it to pipe a border. And we've got the differences here. So we started out with this really thick fudge-like, and it's really nice and super like a buttercream frosting. All right, I'm gonna get my piping bag. Okay, I have my piping bag and it's fitted with a coupler. I guess I could show you how this coupler works. It's a really fat coupler, and what it does is it just keeps everything in place. You don't have to worry about your decorating tip blowing out the end of the bag. And since I'm only using one frosting, this is going to be perfect. So you put the coupler in to your bag, and you want to make sure that it's in there securely, and it, you know, it fits at the end really well. Then you put your decorator tip on, and then you hold it together with this ring. It just screws into place, and you want to make sure you have it nice and tight. So everything's secure. I don't have to worry about frosting leaking through here and making a mess. And then to fill it, I just put it in a small cup or glass, fold the bag down, and then have the opening all smoothed out so that I can get the frosting in here. Want to make sure that my frosting is mixed up very well after I have beaten it. Give it a final mix to make sure everything's smooth. And then I'm going to just get this right into this bag. And I'd like to use an offset spatula because that allows me to just sink it right at the bottom, and I just kind of pinch it with my thumb. I just set it down in there, pinch it with my thumb. Go ahead and put some more in this time. And if you kind of keep everything in the area that you're working with, and then your bag isn't going to get super messy on you. Now I just made a small batch. I just wanted enough for a border because the rest of the ganache I'm also using as a sauce. So I didn't want to use all of this. So hopefully we'll have enough. If not, then I'll have to chill up some more ganache. So we're keeping this as clean as possible. I've got half of a bag here, and you just take your hands, and I want to just get all the frosting down to the bottom of the bag. Kind of smoothing it out and any air bubbles. And you're going to want to squeeze some of it out, and this will give you, you could also practice what kind of design you want to do. And I want to do that right there. Okay, so don't throw that away where you practice, because you could use that if you need to fill your bag again. All right, so we have our bags full. We have the air out. All the frosting is ready to be piped. And I don't like to overfill my bag anyway. This is a comfortable amount for me. And it's gonna keep your frosting from getting too hot. So this is chocolate, so it's gonna melt just by your hand touching it. So I just want to do a simple border, and I just want to cover up this, what I already have here, with the ganache. So you just make your way around. It's not a complicated border, but the purpose for me is to have this to hold ingredients into the center. And if you don't like the way one of those has piped, this one here is a little bit smaller. So I wasn't too happy with that. You can just pull it off and redo it. Now I do see that I am going to need more frosting. And that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and chill the remaining frosting so that I'll be able to finish this border. I have made another batch of this whipped ganache, and I am just gonna pick up right where I left off. Now I'm kind of wondering how I think maybe a second one might become a little bit distracting if I were to do, let's see. Just do it on your counter. But I was thinking if I did a second layer. Let me come around there and look. Well, that's interesting. And it gives it a little bit more height. Yeah, I think I could try that. We have enough ganache here to try that. So let me fill up my piping bag again. This goes pretty quick. I mean, you go right through it. That gives it the height that I wanted for my purposes, because I really want to put a lot of toppings on this. All right. So we're just gonna go in between. And then bring it straight down. All right, so what that has done is just built up the sides so that I can get more toppings in here. Okay, I have some whipped ganache left over, and I'm gonna need that. So what I wanna do is get all of this out of the bag. And that's pretty good. And then I will scrape the rest from the mixing bowl. And it suddenly got very messy. Okay, so let me wash all this up. Wash my hands. Okay, this is the whipped ganache, and I'm gonna microwave this for about 15 seconds. I want it to get a little bit liquid again. Okay, see how it was in there just 15 seconds? And it's already softened back up. So this is versatile. It can go from a liquid and then it gets thickened. You could whip it and then bring it back to a liquid state again. So I'm gonna have this cooling down because when it hits the candies on top of the cheesecake, I don't want it to melt the candy. So I'm gonna do that. I have a peanut butter ganache here that's been cooling. And then I have the cake over to the side. We've got the peanut butter cheesecake, the chocolate ganache drip, the whipped ganache border. Now I have some peanut butter ganache. It's not very hot at all. It's room temperature by now. And I'm gonna put this down to the center of this border. And then what I'm gonna do before I do that is kind of flatten this out a little bit right here. And that's gonna allow me to put more filling in there. We really just wanted that for a border. It's all about how much toppings you can get in here. So I've just kind of hollowed that out a little bit. And I'm gonna spoon this peanut butter ganache right in the center. And just smooth it all around. And that's gonna help for everything to kind of sit in there and hold all that candy in place. All right, so here we go. We've got, just start putting, just a little bit, just start putting your candy in there. So we've got our miniature cups. Get those in any which way. We're almost done. The last thing is this ganache over here, and it's already cooled down. What I want to do is try to drizzle it. Let's see if I could drizzle it. I'm going to put this in a little bottle so that I can have a good control over how that comes out. Okay, I have a decorator bottle. Because this is thick. And I don't want to heat it up to thin it down because I don't want to melt the candies. All right. All right, so we have everything in the bottle. I'll give it a little test. Yep, it's coming out. So this is our last step, is this ganache. And what the ganache is gonna do is just gonna help hold all those toppings together. So what I'm gonna do is just go in here and inject in some places this ganache, and it'll kind of seep in there. Now be careful of your border. You don't want to mess up your border. But this is just going to help act like a glue for everything. You could even do this on some of the pieces, just to kind of keep everything in place. Okay, and then some of the places where you see chocolate, you could just put some candies on that. All right, now what I'm going to do is put a drizzle over that center. Just keep it right in the center. See, one way, and then if it splatters, that's okay. And this is also going to make sure to keep everything. I'm going to go ahead and tap this down a little bit. And you can put as much on here as you want, because it's a decadent cake, so just go all out. All right, that is exactly what I had in mind when I created this recipe. It's even a little more refined than what I imagined. So I'm very happy with it. This is a very rich cheesecake, peanut butter and chocolate cheesecake. The name is anaphylactic shock. Anaphylactic shock. So beware. The peanut butter is danger, and the amount of chocolate on this cheesecake is danger. So this is it. Impress your people with this cheesecake called anaphylactic shock. I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration, how to make ganache and different ways to use it. Please like, subscribe, and share.